Caroline, get down here! I hurried downstairs, dreading the worst. I saw my sister standing in front of the gas cooker, her face livid. My mind raced, thinking of what I could have done wrong. Beatrice? She whirled and pointed a finger in my direction. She asked me what I cooked, and I responded that I cooked some spaghetti when I got back from school because I was hungry and couldn't wait for her to come back. Beatrice marched up to me and yanked my hair. Tears sprang to my eyes and I shut them, apologizing. She told me that the gas had finished all because of me and my need to eat. She pushed me away from her in disgust, and I barely stopped myself from hitting the ground. She grabbed the keys to her bike and carried the gas cylinder for a refill. When she got back, I was in my room upstairs and didn't come out. I heard her talking with her friends. They were probably smoking and drinking at the moment. It wasn't always like this. Before my parents died, Beatrice was the child that kept to herself. She never talked to them, and everyone just assumed she was quiet. Then my parents died in a car crash, and she transformed into this monster. At first, I thought she was merely acting out because of the grief, but now she had no excuse. It had been over a year now. I was still a minor, so my custody was given to Beatrice. She was 24 at that time. She was still staying at home because all her college applications were rejected. Before they died, I used to hear my parents discuss about her and what they could do to get her to care about her life. "There's going to be a party here tomorrow. Don't come out of your room." I nodded at Beatrice, not surprised. Every once in a while, she gathered her friends and threw a party. The house would smell like for about 3 days afterward. I hope she cleaned up after them this time around. I sent my details to 3 universities, hoping that at least one of them would consider me. I wore my headphones to block out the noise of the party coming from downstairs. I curled up on one side and started watching Bridgerton. I watched about 5 episodes and started to feel sleepy. Suddenly, something grabbed my ankles and I screamed. There was a guy in my room, one of Beatrice's friends. His eyes were glazed over, which meant he was high as hell. I kicked him off and told him to get out, regretting the fact that I didn't lock my door. His breath was stinking, and I struggled beneath him. I tried to push him off, but he didn't budge. I screamed again, before realizing that I wasn't hearing music from downstairs, which meant that the party was over. I heard loud footsteps, and Beatrice appeared in the entrance of my room. She took in the scene for a few seconds, and I watched her eyes light up with fury. I saw her reach for something on the ground and hit him on the head. He groaned and crashed onto me. I pushed him off me, panting. Then I rolled to the ground. The guy was still on my bed. Beatrice barely glanced at me as she rounded up on him. I saw what she picked up. It was the hammer I forgot to return. Terror gripped me as I saw Beatrice smash him in the back with a hammer. The guy screamed, the pain penetrating his daze. "Don't you dare hurt my sister! She's all that's left!" Beatrice yelled and brought the hammer down on the back of his head. There was a deafening silence. I stood up and went to check the guy. His eyes were open, and he wasn't breathing. There was soaking my covers underneath his head. "He's dead," I said. Beatrice cursed before dropping the hammer. "This is all your fault. You should have locked your room." My mouth dropped open. She just killed someone. How could she be so calm about it? "We have to hide the body." Beatrice rushed out of the room, leaving me standing stupefied. I guessed that the other party guests had gone. It was pretty late anyway. I crossed over to my phone and checked the time. It was 11 at night. She came back a minute later with a trash bag. She yelled at me to help her, and together we put the dead body in the trash bag. I was too scared to mention the police. They could take my sister away forever. I knew my sister wasn't dumb, so she would know how to take care of it. We dragged his body down the stairs. Beatrice looked outside before we got the body out of the house. Beatrice was muttering under her breath, while I looked around furtively. There was blood on my hands. I tried not to think about the fact that I was an accomplice to murder. "Help me carry," Beatrice said. We headed the body onto her bike like a sack of potatoes. She got on her bike and ordered me to go to the house and clean the blood. A part of me didn't want to leave her, but I knew she was right. There would be no way to explain how the blood got on my bed. My hands were shaking slightly as I beheld the blood on my bed. I burned the sheets and scrubbed the floor clean. Then I sat down in the living room waiting for Beatrice. The sound of the door closing woke me up, and I saw Beatrice walk in. I glanced at the clock. It was just past midnight. Beatrice didn't say a word, but instead plopped down beside me. I didn't say anything too, and we slept like that, the closest we had ever been. Beatrice, I know what you did! My eyes opened groggily, then widened when the events of last night rushed into my head. There was another bang on the door. Beatrice groaned as she awoke. I tapped her and put a finger to my lips. The person at the door yelled her name again, almost screaming it. It was a lady, and I guessed it was one of her friends.
Did you think I wasn't going to find out?
Beatrice and I stared at each other, and I knew the terror in her eyes was also present in mine. We had been found out. I wondered if I was going to be arrested too, and I cursed the fact that I'd turned 18 this year.
How dare you tell Steve I was cheating on him? Why are you ignoring me?
Beatrice heaved a sigh of relief, and I sank further into the couch. My heart started to beat normally again. Beatrice went out and spoke to her friend. She returned later and looked at me. Get up, loser. Get away from my sight. Well, it was great to know things hadn't changed.
It was Halloween, and my friends and I were super excited. I was dressed as Catwoman. Kate and Emily were dressed as Harley Quinn and Wonder Woman, respectively. There was a Halloween party at Frosty, a club downtown. Most people our age would be there. That was where we would be spending our evening. Good music, drinks, and fun were the things on our list for Halloween. In our 20s, we couldn't stop knocking on doors and saying trick or treat. We took a cab to Frosty, giggling and gossiping. The cab driver kept giving us weird glances through the mirror, and it made us laugh harder. When we arrived at Frosty, the place was teeming with life. We played games trying to identify the costumes people were wearing. I won, and that was because Kate and Emily weren't lovers of the fantasy world as much as I was. Someone was dressed as Jack Sparrow. His hat kept getting knocked down to the floor, and we watched him amused. He gave up wearing the hat and just held it in his hands with a frown on his face. We got drinks and went to the dance floor. A guy was all over a girl. It grossed me out, and I couldn't help but give him a look of disgust. It was just wrong. As the three of us were dancing, nothing fancy happened. Guys would walk up to us and try to dance with us. We refused them all. We had decided that tonight was girls' night, and we were determined to have fun together. We had a break from college stress, and we were content to spend as much time together as we could. A guy bumped into Emily. He was dressed as a knight, and he shifted uncomfortably before abruptly walking away. "He just walked away without saying sorry," she said angrily. I went to get another drink as Kate tried to calm her down. Soon enough, we were dancing with contented smiles on our faces. Someone else bumped into Kate, and the three of us got outraged. These people should really watch where they were going. "Watch it!" we yelled. "Watch where you're going, duckface!" Kate rounded up on the guy. "What did you just call me?" he asked menacingly. From the tone of his voice, I could detect that he was not sober. He was also swaying a little. My mood to fight died, and I started to back away. I tried pulling Kate and Emily along, but they wouldn't budge. They kept on yelling at the Joker, telling him that they were on the dance floor and he was the one who needed to apologize. Suddenly, he pulled out a gun from behind him. Emily screamed and ran backwards. She crashed into me and we both fell down. Everyone looked for the source of the commotion and immediately started to panic when they saw the gun. He pulled Kate towards him and held the gun to her head. Kate's face was white and tears were streaming down her face. She really was representing the badass Harley Quinn badly. Sounds of glass breaking filled the club as people ran away from the guy with the gun. Someone stepped on me, and I realized how much of a bad idea staying on the floor was. I shoved Emily off me and clambered to my feet. I held my hands out, hoping to pacify our attacker. I couldn't just leave like everyone else. He was holding one of my best friends at gunpoint. "Wait," I said. It was as if the word triggered him to act. He rammed the butt of the gun on the side of Kate's face and she screamed in pain. He hit her again and blood flowed down her face. I then saw Emily whip past me and watched as she jumped on the guy, screaming like a banshee. I just stood there, frozen. Kate had gone limp when Emily jumped on him. He hit the floor with a thud, but he still managed to keep a hold of the gun. I suddenly jerked into action. I rushed to him and tried to yank the gun from his hand. His grip was firm, and when he saw what I was trying to do, he got livid and roared. He raised his body and threw Emily off his back. I refused to let go of the gun. That was the only threat as far as I was concerned. He pulled me up with the gun and slapped me hard. I felt blood in my mouth, but my fingers clutched tightly to the gun. He slapped me again, and I felt dizzy from the pain. In our tussle, my finger pressed on the trigger and the rebound made it jerk backwards. He wasn't expecting it, so he lost hold of the gun. Everything happened so fast. 1 minute, both of us were struggling for ownership of the gun. The next minute, a shot ran out and hit the back of the wall. I was holding the gun. I was in control now. As soon as we heard the police sirens, he turned to run away, only to discover that 2 cops were coming in through the entrance. He tried to resist them, but he was no match for their brute force. They successfully restrained him and handcuffed him. Kate, Emily, and I were taken to the hospital. Emily had bruised ribs and I suffered a concussion. Kate had to be admitted and monitored for some days due to the blood loss. It was an experience we would never forget. The raw fear coursing through my veins opened my eyes to see how savage humans could be. I never walked without a penknife and pepper spray on me. Kate and Emily handled it differently than I did. Emily saw it as one of the things that happened in life and insisted that she wasn't affected in any way. Kate went for therapy sessions and took self-defense classes. She said that she wouldn't be in that kind of situation again. As months went by, our memories about the night started fading. However, we have been very, very careful since then.